I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Jake, and I was married to Anna for just over 3 years. We were supposed to get married next weekend. I thought everything was perfect. She was smart, gorgeous, a little bitchy sometimes, but I loved her. We had plans, a future, a house, the works. People would tell us we were the perfect couple, and honestly, for a long time I believed that too. But lately, things felt off. Small things, you know. She'd disappear for hours without telling me where she was going. Her phone was glued to her hand all the time, and if I ever asked to see her messages, she'd roll her eyes and say I was being paranoid. She'd snap at me for asking questions, call me insecure, say I was overthinking everything. I ignored the red flags for a while, thinking maybe she was just stressed with work or something. I mean, everyone has their bad days, right? Then came the little things that made me suspicious. She started dressing up more than usual, even around the house, wearing sexy lingerie, even when she knew I was home. I'd come back from work and find her in some revealing outfit, acting flirty, touching herself while watching TV, and giving me that look like she was teasing me. Honestly, I thought maybe she was just trying to spice things up, but looking back now, it was all part of her game. I caught her lying a few times about where she was going, saying she was meeting friends, then finding out she was nowhere near where she claimed. One night, I decided to follow her just to see what was really going on. I didn't want to believe she could be cheating, but my gut was screaming at me. So I waited till she left and I followed her to a cheap motel outside town. When I saw her go inside with a guy, some handsome blonde dude, I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. The way they were acting, so intimate, kissing in the parking lot, her giggling like a schoolgirl, it was as if I wasn't even there. I couldn't believe what I saw. That was the moment I knew for sure she'd been lying all this time. I didn't stick around to see more. I just drove home, my head spinning. I kept telling myself I must have been mistaken, maybe it was just a dumb coincidence, but deep down I knew the truth. Anna had been cheating on me with her best man, Mark. I saw their secret hotel room with my own eyes. How could she lie so effortlessly, knowing I'd find out? It's like she thought she was untouchable, like she had me fooled all this time. That's where I am now, drowning in betrayal, wondering how the hell I got here. I never thought she'd be capable of this level of deceit. We'd been through so much together and I was ready to spend my life with her. Now I'm just left with this empty feeling, this rage, and 1,000 questions. How long has this been going on? Did she ever really love me? And the worst part is I don't even know if I want her to come clean. Part of me just wants to cut her out and forget she ever existed. I'm not sure what's worse, feeling this betrayed or knowing I might have to start over again. After seeing them that night, everything changed. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. My mind kept replaying the images of Anna and Mark, the way they looked together like they were the only two people in the world. I kept asking myself how she could do this to me, to us. We had plans, a life I thought was built on trust, and now I was realizing it was all just a house of cards. I didn't want to confront her right away. I needed time to think, to cool off, but I also knew I couldn't keep pretending I didn't know. So I waited. The next morning I decided I'd face her. The truth was unbearable, but I couldn't keep pretending. I needed to hear what she'd say, even if I already knew the answer. I found her in the kitchen, sipping her coffee like she hadn't just been caught cheating on me. She looked annoyed when I walked in, as if I was bothering her. I didn't waste time. I told her what I saw, what I knew. Her face didn't change much initially, but then she scoffed and rolled her eyes. "Oh, please," she said. "You're imagining things, Jake. You're just paranoid because you're insecure. Mark's just a friend from work. And you're blowing this all out of proportion." Her voice was cold, dismissive, like I was some jealous fool making up stories. I stared at her, furious. "A friend from work, really? Because I saw you with my own eyes, Anna. You and Mark in that hotel, kissing like you were the only two people alive. Don't lie to me. Don't pretend I don't know what's going on." She crossed her arms and smirked, shrugging as if she didn't care. "Well, maybe you're right. Maybe Mark and I are just friends. Or maybe I just needed some excitement, you know. Our sex life was boring and I needed a little fun. You're not exactly perfect either, Jake. Don't act like you're above all this." That statement hit me like a punch in the gut. She had the audacity to blame me, to act like I was the one who screwed up, when just hours ago she was sneaking around with someone I trusted. I felt my blood boil. I wanted to scream, but I held it in. Instead, I told her she could spin all the lies she wanted, but I knew what she was doing. I told her I was done, that I couldn't be with someone who lied so easily, who betrayed me so deeply. Her reaction was infuriating. She rolled her eyes again, said I was overreacting, and accused me of being jealous, like that was some kind of flaw. "You're so insecure, Jake. You think I'm the only girl in the world, please. Maybe I deserve to have some fun too. Maybe I'm not the perfect wife you always thought I was," she said, voice dripping with sarcasm. That's when I realized she was completely detached from any sense of guilt or remorse. She was justifying her actions, convincing herself that she hadn't done anything wrong. I left the house feeling shattered, like I'd been hit by a truck. I couldn't believe she was sitting there, so nonchalant, acting like it was no big deal. I thought about all the nights I'd come home tired from work, thinking she was just waiting for me when she was probably with Mark. My mind was racing with thoughts. How long has this been going on? How many times? Was I just a fool who missed the signs? Honestly, I felt like I'd been sucker punched. But the worst part, deep down, I knew I had to decide what to do next, because this kind of betrayal doesn't just go away. It stays with you, eats away at your soul. I didn't want to be the guy who just forgave and moved on, not without some kind of fight. But I also knew I couldn't stay in that house, pretending everything was okay. I felt betrayed, angry, humiliated, and yet part of me still loved her. Even now, that love was fighting with the pain. I realized I was at a crossroad. I could scream at her, break everything, make her feel like the monster she was, or I could try to find some clarity. The thing was, I knew the truth. I deserved better than this. We all do. Nobody should have to live with someone who cheats, lies, and then blames you for catching her. I just wish I knew what was coming next. That night I stayed up late, sitting alone in my living room, trying to process everything. The house felt colder, emptier, even though I was surrounded by familiar furniture. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, defiant, unapologetic, as if she hadn't just shattered everything we built. I kept asking myself how I missed the signs, how I could have been so blind to her lies. I thought I knew her, really knew her. Turns out I only knew what she let me see. Morning came too quickly, and with it, the decision that I could no longer pretend this was just a mistake or a misunderstanding. I couldn't keep pretending I was okay with it. I loved her, but I also hated her right now. The betrayal was too raw, too fresh. I knew I had to confront her again, this time more strategically. I couldn't let her dismiss everything so easily. If I was going to do this right, I needed to get some solid answers. So I called her, told her I needed to talk. She didn't sound surprised, just annoyed, like she'd been expecting this call. When she came over, her makeup was perfect, her attitude even more so. She walked in, arms crossed, and gave me that bitchy smile. "What now, Jake? You're still obsessing over this. I told you Mark is just a friend. You're making a big deal out of nothing." I stared at her, feeling the surge of anger rise up. "Nothing. Nothing. Anna, I saw you in that hotel room with Mark. Don't lie anymore. Be honest with me. How long has this been going on?" Her eyes flickered, but she kept her composure. "Look, I don't know what you want me to say. Yes, I cheated. I won't deny it, but it doesn't mean I don't love you. I was just bored. You were never really there for me, Jake. Always working, always busy. Mark was there when I needed someone, someone who listens, who makes me feel alive." Her voice was dripping with manipulation, and I could see she was trying to turn this around on me, make me feel guilty for catching her. I felt like my stomach was turning. I couldn't believe her words. She was blaming me for her cheating as if I was the one who screwed up, not her. The audacity. I'd been nothing but loyal, and she was sitting there lying, playing the victim. I wanted to scream, but I held back. Instead, I told her I was done, that I deserved honesty and respect, not this bullshit. She scoffed and rolled her eyes again. "Fine if you want to be dramatic, but you're not perfect either, Jake. You think I don't see how you're always working late, never paying attention to me anymore? Maybe I needed someone who cared, who made me feel wanted. Mark did that, and honestly, I don't regret it. If anything, it's made me realize I deserve better than your boring ass." That stung worse than anything. The fact that she could be so callous, so cold, and still justify her actions made my chest tighten. I realized she was one of those people who lie so much, they start believing their own lies. She convinced herself that she was the victim, that she was entitled to cheat because I wasn't good enough. I told her she needed to leave. I couldn't handle her in the house anymore, not with her pretending like nothing had happened. She looked at me with that bitchy smirk, the one that said she thought she'd won. "Fine," she said, "but don't come crying when I find someone else who actually appreciates me." Watching her walk out, I felt a strange mixture of relief and deep pain. The relief was knowing I finally had the truth out in the open, but the pain was knowing I'd lost the person I loved. I never thought she'd be capable of this level of betrayal. My mind kept circling back to Mark. What did he see in her? How could he do this to me, to my relationship? It was all so sudden, so brutal. I thought I knew her, and now I realized I never really did. That day, I started thinking about what I was going to do next. I knew I couldn't stay in this mess. I started planning my next move, whether to fight for her, to cut her out completely, or to just walk away and forget she ever existed. The betrayal cut so deep, I wasn't sure I'd ever recover. But one thing was clear, I'd never let her see me broken. Not like this. I'd find a way to come out of this stronger, or at least that's what I told myself. The days that followed were a blur of chaos and confusion. I threw myself into work. Hopping distraction would dull the pain, but every time I closed my eyes, I saw her with Mark again. That image haunted me, her lips pressed against his, her hands clutching him like he was the only thing that mattered. I kept asking myself how I missed the signs, how I let her get away with this for so long. It felt like my entire world had been turned upside down overnight. I started to realize that I couldn't just sit around waiting for her to come back or to give me some kind of half-assed apology. Deep down, I knew I had to do something, some kind of revenge, even if I wasn't really the revenge type. I wasn't interested in destroying her, but I wanted her to feel what I was feeling, betrayed, humiliated, and completely played. So I began to plan. It wasn't a malicious plan, not exactly, but I had to make her see that I wasn't going to be someone she could just walk over. First, I found out that she was still seeing Mark behind my back, even after I told her I was done. She'd message him constantly, and I got hold of some of the texts. Honestly, reading those messages was like getting punched in the gut all over again. The way they talked, the secret little emojis, the intimate stuff, she really didn't care that I knew. She just kept on doing it like I was nothing. That's when I decided I'd finally take control of the situation. I set up a fake email account, one I knew she wouldn't recognize. I started messaging Mark, pretending to be someone interested in his services, if you get my drift. I wanted to lure him into a trap, to trap him in his own game. I told him I knew about him and Anna, that I had proof, and that I wasn't going to let this slide anymore. I told him I was going to expose him in front of everyone, make him regret ever messing with a married woman. Meanwhile, I also hired a private investigator, just to get some concrete evidence. I wasn't planning to confront her again without proof. I needed to see how deep this went, how many times they'd been sneaking around. The Pi found out they'd been meeting regularly, not just that night but over the last few weeks. Hotel stays, secret dinners, late-night texts. It was worse than I thought. It felt like my life was falling apart in slow motion. One evening I got a call from the Pi. He told me Mark was coming to meet Anna again that night. I had the perfect opportunity. I decided I'd show up at the hotel where they were supposed to meet. I wanted to catch them in the act, to make sure she knew I wasn't just some guy who'd turn a blind eye. I parked nearby, waited for about 15 minutes, and then saw her walking into the lobby, looking around nervously. Mark was right behind her, smirking like he knew he was winning. I didn't yell or make a scene right away. I just sat in my car, watching them, feeling a strange calm wash over me. I knew this was the moment I'd finally get my revenge, not by destroying her, but by showing her I wasn't just some fool she could cheat on and dismiss. When they went inside, I slipped out of the car, crept up to the entrance, and snapped some photos of them together. The proof I needed. I knew this would hit her hard. I'd let her see that I had caught her, that I had real evidence, and that I wasn't going to be a pushover anymore. It wasn't about revenge for revenge's sake. It was about reclaiming my dignity, showing her she couldn't run away with her lies and manipulations. I was done being the guy who was played like a fool. Now I was taking control, by finally exposing her secret, her betrayal, and her true character. As I snapped those pictures, I felt a strange mixture of satisfaction and emptiness. Part of me wanted to confront her right then, throw everything in her face. But I knew I had to be strategic. I needed to think carefully about what to do next, whether to confront her with the evidence, or to just walk away and let her see that I knew the truth. Either way, I was done being the victim. I was starting to see that I had power, even if it didn't feel like it just yet. And somehow, that was enough to give me a glimmer of hope that I could get through this mess. The next few days were a whirlwind of planning and emotional turmoil. I kept the pictures to myself, just staring at them whenever I felt overwhelmed. Seeing her with Mark like that, so carefree, so reckless, made me sick. But at the same time, I felt a strange sense of clarity. I finally had something concrete, something I could use. I wasn't going to be the fool who got played. I was going to take control. I decided I'd confront her again, this time not with anger but with a cold, calculated approach. I wanted her to understand that I wasn't some doormat anymore. I'd been humiliated enough. I arranged to meet her at her apartment, pretending I just wanted to talk, but I knew I wasn't going to hold back. I had to get everything out in the open. When she opened the door, she looked annoyed, like she'd been expecting me but didn't want to deal with it. She was dressed provocatively, probably to remind me of what I was losing. I didn't waste time with small talk. I pulled out my phone, showed her the photos I'd taken, and laid everything out, her trying to deny it, her lies, her fake excuses. I told her I had evidence of her meeting Mark repeatedly, that I knew about the hotel nights, the late texts, everything. Her face first twisted into that bitchy smirk, then into genuine panic. "You've got no right," she spat. "This is all a setup. You're just jealous because I don't want to be miserable with your ass anymore. Mark is just a friend and you're blowing everything out of proportion. You're so insecure, Jake, it's pathetic." I felt my jaw tight. "You think I don't know what's really going on? I saw you with him. I caught you in the act, and I've got the proof. I don't care what lies you tell yourself. You cheated. You lied to me to my face for months. How do you even sleep at night?" She tried to play the victim, claiming I was controlling, jealous, paranoid, but I wasn't falling for it anymore. I told her she had a choice. She could either be honest and own up to her actions, or she could keep lying and pretend she was the innocent wife. I wasn't going to be her puppet anymore, not after what I saw. I told her I was done, that I wanted a divorce, something I never thought I'd say, but I knew it was the only way to salvage what little dignity I had left. She started crying, fake tears streaming down her face, throwing out more lies, saying she was sorry, saying she'd change, that Mark was just a mistake, that she didn't mean for it to happen. She begged me to forgive her, to give her another chance. But I saw through her theatrics. I knew she was just trying to manipulate her way back into my good graces, to keep me from walking away for good. I told her I wasn't interested in her apologies. I told her she had burned that bridge long ago. And then I left. Walked out of her apartment feeling like I'd just shed a layer of skin. The betrayal hit me hard, but now I was finally free from her lies. I felt more alive than I had in years, even if the pain was still fresh. I knew I'd have to start over, rebuild my life from scratch, but for the first time in a long while, I felt that I had some control. What I learned from all this: you can't trust someone blindly, no matter how much you love them. People lie, cheat, manipulate, sometimes right in front of your face. But at the end of the day, the only person responsible for your happiness, your dignity, is you. I'll never forget what she did, but I also refuse to let her define my future. I'm hurting now, sure, but I'll come out of this stronger. And maybe someday I'll find someone who respects me enough not to cheat behind my back. That's what I keep telling myself anyway. In the aftermath of everything, I've been trying to piece my life back together. It's been a gut-wrenching process, no doubt. The trust I once had in Anna is shattered beyond repair. Every time I think about how she lied and cheated, I feel a mix of anger, sadness, and a strange sense of relief. Anger because she betrayed me so completely. Sadness because I genuinely believed in us and what we had. But relief, oddly enough, because I finally see things clearly. I realize I wasted so much time convincing myself she was perfect, that she was the one. Turns out the person I loved was just a facade she put on, something I now see I should have questioned sooner. Living with this betrayal has taught me a tough lesson. Never ignore the red flags. I was so blinded by love that I ignored all the warning signs, all the little lies, all the secretiveness. And I let her manipulate me into thinking I was the crazy one for questioning her. I won't make that mistake again. Moving forward, I've promised myself I'll be more cautious, more aware. Trust is earned, not given blindly, no matter how much you love someone. I also learned that revenge isn't about destruction but about reclaiming your power. Exposing her, showing her I wasn't going to be her doormat, that was my way of taking back control. It didn't fix everything, but it helped me see that I was stronger than I thought. I didn't need her to validate me or make me feel whole. I've started to rebuild my confidence piece by piece. It's a long road, and I know I'll have setbacks, but I'm determined to move on. Now I'm focusing on myself. Therapy has helped me process the pain and betrayal. I've started to reconnect with friends, rebuild my confidence, and plan for a future that doesn't include her. It's weird. Part of me still feels the sting of what happened, but I also feel lighter, freer, as if I've finally shed a heavy burden I didn't even realize I was carrying. That's what betrayal does. It breaks you down, but it also forces you to grow. In the end, I want to say to anyone who's going through something similar, trust your gut. Don't ignore the red flags. Be honest with yourself about what you can tolerate. And when you catch someone cheating or lying, don't hesitate to cut ties. It hurts now, but in the long run, you'll thank yourself. You deserve someone who respects you, who values fidelity, and who doesn't lie behind your back. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I'm done with the past. I'll keep moving forward stronger and wiser. And someday I hope to find someone who truly cares about me, someone worthy of my trust. Until then, I'll just keep picking up the pieces and learning how to live again. Because at the end of the day, betrayal might break you, but it doesn't have to define you.